Welcome to Agents, AI, and Automation, two controllers' firsthand lessons, a Controllers Shop Talk series brought to you by the Controllers Council. My name is Neil Brown, Executive Director of the Controllers Council, and before I introduce our expert panelists and our partner sponsor, let me share some brief housekeeping items. This webinar is CPE eligible with 4 polling questions, so please answer each poll. If not CPE, please answer to benchmark your peers. Also regarding CPE, you must attend for at least 50 minutes and complete a quick survey at the end of the presentation. Next, we'll have Q&A at the end of the presentation, so use your GoToWebinar control panel to ask our experts questions. And finally, you'll receive a link to this webcast via email in the next 24 hours, so no need for notes or screenshots. With that, I'm very pleased to introduce our partner and sponsor, RAMP, the all-in-one finance automation platform, cards, expenses, AP, travel, procurement, and accounting in one system. Over 50,000 businesses on RAMP, 27.5 million hours saved. That was from yesterday, so it could have increased. 75% month-end close and 30 days full implementation time. Learn more at ramp.com. And with that, I'd like to introduce our two panelists today. Melissa Montgomery is VP Controller at RAMP, where she leads accounting, financial reporting, technical accounting, and controllership functions. Before RAMP, she served as VP Controller at Patreon and held senior finance roles at Airbnb through its pre-IPO scaling years. Having started her career at PwC, she holds a BS in Business Administration from Cal Poly San Luis Obispo and writes on how AI is reshaping the controller's role while making human judgment more critical than ever. James Agius is Finance Controller at SKOOL, focused on building scalable financial operations for a high-growth SaaS platform. With over a decade of experience, he specializes in turning complex financial environments into clear, structured systems spanning revenue recognition, financial reporting, billing, payouts, and payroll. His approach centers on creating clarity within the numbers so companies can make confident decisions as they scale. Welcome, Melissa and James.
Thank you, Neil.
We're going to get started with the poll. So, launch that. All right, so how would you describe your team's current use of AI or automation in accounting? So please take a few seconds. All answers are anonymous and confidential. And we've got a lot of smart people out there, so they're voting really fast. So just a few more seconds, please. And we'll show the results. Melissa, do you want to take this?
Sure, thanks. So great. Looks like most of us are experimenting with 1 or 2 tools. A few are core to how we run finance. Great to hear. Some are automating workflows. Great. Okay, this gives us a good starting point. Thanks, Neil. So excited to be here today. First, welcome everyone. I think this will be a really engaging conversation and very real and down to earth to hear from both myself and James. As Neil mentioned, I'm Melissa Montgomery. I'm the VP Controller at RAMP. Most days I'm running the controllership function at a large fintech company. So I do have my own opinions about what AI and automation can and cannot do. But I'm really excited to talk to James because he's living the experiment more than anyone. He is the sole financial controller at a fast growing company, managing everything from bookkeeping to cash planning, on a 45-person wide team. So James, before we get into it, for anyone who doesn't know SKOOL, can you give us just the quick rundown? What does the company do? What does your job actually look like day to day to level set us?
Yeah, thank you, Melissa. Yeah, so SKOOL is an all-in-one platform for communities. So anyone who wants to discover or create their own communities, we've basically made it a one-stop shop. You can come in, you can, go on to discovery, search for anything that you might be interested, from, crochet to how to build AI agents. The number of groups is growing by the day. So you can find anything that you're interested in. And also, if you actually want to make your own free community, you can simply start the community. We've made it super easy to monetize communities. And at the core of everything that we do, we've gamified almost every process on the platform. In terms of what I do at SKOOL, I handle all the finance functions. As you mentioned, I am a one-man team. My team is strictly AI agents. So that's who I manage. I don't manage any human beings. Yeah, it's exciting to be able to do that in kind of like today's world and with all the advances in technology that we've had. My background also, like in addition to finance, I'm a big data nerd, big nerd into technology, all this stuff. So always super interested in anything that comes out, and I've been into that for the last about 6 years out of the 10 years in finance that I have. So it started with simple learning. I know a couple of coding languages: NoSQL, Python, JavaScript. I always say I know enough to be dangerous, um, but yeah, uh, handling everything. For SKOOL, we're growing pretty fast, which, as the tasks add on, and makes it harder. But with the help of the tools such as Ramp, and other tools in our tech stack, it's been an amazing journey. So pretty exciting.
Yeah, great. Just to give us a sense, James, for those on the phone, if you're able to share volume or kind of like what is the level of spend you're dealing with day to day?
Yeah, so on a monthly basis, we're spending above $5 million between our credit card spend on Ramp and through our AP system. We've hit upwards of 7 million in some months, so it's a decent amount of transaction volume coming through, especially on like ad spend and stuff.
Mhm.
And in terms of revenue, we're currently processing close to $50 million a month on the marketplace. So
Wow.
growing at a steady rate.
Yeah, that's a lot for you to handle all by yourself, I would say.
Yeah, at first it seemed like very daunting, but again, like with the tools in hand, it's become pretty easy.
Yeah, so that's a good segue because I do want to talk a little bit about scale, which is why I want the audience to understand kind of what you're dealing with day to day. I know that you onboarded at SKOOL in October 24, and within 6 months, you were already over 5 million a month in spend about that. So when your spend scales that fast, what was kind of breaking first if you didn't have the infrastructure in place?
Yeah, I think so. The way that we did everything is, as we were growing, both I and the CEO kind of like kept eyes on our spend. The problem, like the spend grew so fast that it became obviously too much for the CEO to, keep doing kind of like that startup phase where it's just a
Yeah,
couple of people in the office, um, to a
yeah,
team that's like over 40 people. And so, just the reporting and being able to kind of like make those quick decisions month to month, that started breaking really fast. At that time, so a little bit more to my background. So I ran a fractional CFO and an FP&A consulting firm for 5 years. I've been working with the CEO, Sam Ovens, since 2017. So it's been almost a decade of working with him, and I worked with him in our first company, and then during the transition period, that's where I started my firm. And that's kind of like, he was my first client, right? So I was always with SKOOL from the beginning, but I wasn't in a full-time role since end of 2024, moving forward. And so I was only managing the transactions. Even when we started with Ramp, it was more of a part-time basis. I
Sure.
only had 8 to 16 hours basically a month in on school. And again, that's when the conversation started, between me and Sam. Was like, hey, we do need someone full time. Does it look like you coming back, full time to the team? Does it means going out and finding someone else? But yeah, and the reason for that was auditing. Auditing became, pretty much uh, uh, a nuisance to deal with, as well as reporting. Basically, like, again, trying to make those on spot decisions. He wasn't able to do that anymore at the scale that we were at.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, resonates a lot. I'm sure for a lot of folks here too, is just when growth is compounding that quickly, it is impossible to keep up if you don't have the right tools in place. And sometimes you are playing a bit of catch up just to get there, so to speak. Um, so interesting to hear how you were already like at school, but of course had to move into full time, and then implementing Ramp, of course, I'm sure helped a lot. I know that you have 5 different Ramp products at school. Maybe it'd be helpful to understand what's the Ramp product that you think has sort of delivered the most value that you didn't really expect?
Yeah, I think, which was again a surprise to me and to the Ramp team. It was the travel suite, because it just makes it so easy to kind of like, it's something that you don't really think of, right? Okay, like when your employees, guests, whoever it is, are planning travel to different locations. We host a couple of events throughout the year. We have our team, flying to LA and to other locations multiple times a month. All accounting for all of that and keeping it in one system, it's really hard. It's usually like reimbursement forms connected to different workflows on the back end to try to connect everything to the ERP. But what Ramp Travel did was basically create this one-way portal for our employees and guests to be able to just hop on there, dial in when they're going to travel, walks them through booking a hotel, booking flights, booking rental cars if needed be. And all of that information is directly in Ramp. It connects directly to the accounting sync and then straight to the ERP. And it also gives me and the admin team for each of the departments a quick glance. It's like, hey, where is everyone? Where are
Yeah,
people traveling?
yeah,
And we can easily keep tabs on like spend, as well as incorporating the different travel policies and Ramp to have the travel agent basically help us with managing per diems, with managing hotel bookings and approvals and stuff like that. It honestly, like, travel is the easiest thing that ever happened to us. Is like, it basically removes the having to worry about any of it. All of it
yeah.
is automated. We don't have to touch it.
Yeah, that's super interesting. It certainly gives you a lot more control over, of course, your policies and what spend people can book within. I think that's actually really critical, the travel tool, but also you hit on an important point, which is a lot of folks have no idea where their people are at any point in time. And that can be really critical as well, I think, just to have that visibility. If you don't mind sharing, what were you before, just kind of hacking it together on people just booking ad hoc sites, or how were they doing their travel before you had Ramp?
Yeah, so basically everyone was booking all of their expenses, booking their flights, booking their travel, and then uploading all of that information through a form. That form's connected to a Google sheet on the
Yep.
back end. And then that was triggering different workflows for approvals, and then to generate basically like bills, invoices on their behalf, and then uploading those bills into our ERP and then sending them through the proper workflow. But it just, yeah, all of that introduces a lot of room for error. Um, uh, and again, it's like not everything is in one place, so it makes it
Right.
so much harder to manage. It's just,
Yeah.
it becomes a data nightmare.
Yep. Yep. Makes a lot of sense. Um, I want to move to a story that you have that I think is actually going to resonate and is extremely relevant to a lot of people, probably on the phone. So you went on a vacation, and as you mentioned, you're the only person managing the finances, and you came back from your 2-week vacation. You had 2,000 transactions that happened while you were gone, and in 30 minutes, you were done coding them all. Can you tell us about what actually happened? How did you do it? How did you get there? I think a lot of people probably feel the pain of this and can resonate with not being able to be gone, because it's just so much work when you get back.
Yeah, I think like the bookkeeping function specifically within like the finance team is so critical. Like you might people might think of it as the lesser, but I think it's like one of the most important roles because it's the one that can't really take a break. Like you just got to keep going. Otherwise, there's going to be a huge overwhelm of data that needs to be processed. And I think this is like it came all down to being like setting up a system that allows for the bookkeeping to happen autonomously behind the scenes. And that's thanks to the way that RAMP is set up, right? So setting up funds and virtual cards that work hand in hand. What you can do is basically configure virtual cards. For example, let's say you have software subscriptions, right? You're going to create different virtual cards for each merchant, and then you're going to set auto coding rules set on the card itself. And now, for most transactions, we know what the categorization is going to look like. And so if we can set those settings already on RAMP, and turn on one of the features that was introduced, I think, pretty early on in 2025, which was the auto sync. That was like one of my recommendations to the RAMP team. It's like, okay, you gotta turn on auto sync, so that way we don't have to deal with those transactions that we're 100% sure of. And basically, the majority of those 2,000 plus transactions are automatically auto sync because RAMP already knows what general ledger account is going to, what the memo should say. So as soon as there's a receipt, there's everything, and it passes the policy test, that transaction is auto synced. And transactions are auto synced at night. So basically, it lines them all up, and then at the end of the day, it just sends them straight to the ERP. And so I went on vacation. Well, we basically closed the company down for Christmas. So we take 2 weeks off. Everyone, spends time with the family. Again, the problem with that is the business is still running. So coming back in after that vacation, yeah, all I had to do was basically go through and categorize 67 transactions. And the reason why I had 67 transactions is because of classification. So I use events as part of our classification system in our ERP, and so it's a way to track costs per event that we hold. And at the time, RAMP's AI agent can't handle that. It's getting better. You've already implemented a couple of tools there, but basically that's what I had to go through is go through those transactions, make sure there's a proper classification, and clear those out. But that took me about, as you said, like 30 minutes. Compare that to what I would have had to go through if I had to, go through every transaction. Because sometimes, like the whole auto sync process, I think it's a way for me to like not see it. Because if I see it, I will review it. That's just internally built in me. If you give me a list of 2,000 transactions and even say, oh, like this is all good to go, just hit ready to go.
Yeah.
I will still review it.
You're still it. Yeah.
Because it's still in front of me. So the auto sync feature, the fact that it completely removes it from your peer view, kind of like you don't have to see it anymore. It's already banked as ready to go. It was amazing. Like that's, I feel like the sole reason why I'm able to do what I do with the team. And needing like a bookkeeper, adding someone else to my team because of using that tool specifically.
Yeah, really interesting. I feel like honestly, we do hear that a lot from various customers is just, listen, before we were on a system like RAMP, I felt like I couldn't even leave, because it was so daunting to come back to the volume and the work involved. But to your point, the agents are getting better every day. The tools are getting better every day. Hopefully the 67 will become 0 at some point.
The goal.
That's cool. But yeah, I think it's a great story that a lot of people probably can can relate to. So just like kind of moving to the principles behind that, because I want to make sure folks understand. Tell me a little more about how you thought through configuring what the system would own, so to speak, versus what you wanted to own. Like you gave the example of classification, but the system obviously can be configured in such a way to spit out what you want to be able to see. So how did you think through that?
Yeah, so basically, I used an LLM tool that basically allowed me to go through our history of transactions, right, and create a matrix of what transactions belong to each vendor and what category like GL account that account goes to.
Mhm.
And then score basically an accuracy score for all of those transactions. And again, this might be a little bit technical, but I believe, if you're in accounting finance nowadays, it's something that you just got to jump into and be like, hey, you know what? It might seem daunting, but you just gotta go for it because it's gonna make your life like 100 times easier. But basically, now what we have is a table, an Airtable that all of my agents have access to. And what it does is it goes again through each vendor and continuously updates how I would go ahead and categorize that transaction. And
Mm,
so it's all based on what I would do. Now, for me, it's easier. I'm a one man team. I know that if I said it, it's good to go. I trust, what I'm doing. I don't have to, review another manual input from another team member. So it's a little bit easier. But then it sets a score. And if that score is 100%, then that's what's kind of like that's the threshold for auto sync. If
mm,
any vendor transaction that's categorized within those parameters meets 100% score, that is automatically going to be switched to auto sync
yeah,
in ramp for us.
wow.
Now with some of the newer tools, even on ramp,
Mhm.
uh, for example, the accounting AI automation policy, you can actually go in and tell it like, hey, look for the specific, bank description, or look for specific, text values in the memo field.
Right.
And so like that categorization matrix is growing by the day just to, give us more information. Again, the goal is to reach zero transactions to review, but that means that the AI agents need more and more information.
Yeah.
And then it's up to us to feed it the correct information